Mike, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Sully, what's going on?
Nothing, man. Just making it through another Saturday morning here.
There you go.
Thanks for joining us. Let's jump right into some high school hoops in South Jersey. What's really standing out as we're coming to the end of January and we're getting into February, which is the time when you want to be peaking and you want to be playing your best. Who's really catching your eye?
Well, I think what's kind of intriguing to me right now is, everybody knows about the kind of elite teams from the Cape Atlantic League, your St. Augustine's, your Atlantic Cities. But what has kind of got my interest is that kind of battle for that number 7, that number 8 spot in that Cape Atlantic League tournament. You kind of had Absegami with a big win over Ocean City, 46-44. Then they stumble a bit last night with a loss to Egg Harbor Township, 56-50. You have St. Joe kind of reassert themselves with a close loss to Wildwood Catholic on Wednesday, and then they come back and beat Pleasantville at Pleasantville last night. So, that battle for that, and I'm feeling, the mainland regional boys, they lose to Atlantic City last night, but they beat Cedar Creek earlier in the week. So that battle for that, number 8 spot in that Cape Atlantic League tournament, which starts February 22nd, and, making that tournament can really, make a team season. So that's kind of, what kind of intrigues me over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, really a lot still up in the air. I mean, you're talking about 3 weeks worth of games. That could be 8, 9, 10, 11 games, somewhere in that range. So a team that may seem like they're out of it, a team like Bridgeton and Vineland, they still got a ways to go, and they can jump right back in this thing with a couple big wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it gives a lot of meaning to that. When St. Joe plays Cedar Creek, that's going to be a huge game. I mean, Cedar Creek plays Ocean City at the Battle by the Bay next Friday night. That's going to be a huge game. So, that's what I love about the Cape Atlantic League tournament is it gives games that you might overlook because teams are around 500 or might not gain attention. It really gives those games a sort of postseason feel or an added importance.
Talking with Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City. Going over some high school hoops here. Mike, we got a guy coming up after you, Austin Kennedy from St. Augustine Prep, and I know you were out there this week, as was I, when they faced Holy Spirit, and really handled them with relative ease there in the second half. They went on a huge run to start the third quarter, and how impressive is this St. Aug team, and can anybody really challenge them in the Cape Atlantic League tournament? Maybe a team like Atlantic City that's athletic and can get up and down and score, or maybe a team like Wildwood Catholic.
Well, I think you hit it right there. I mean, with those two teams right there, of course, St. Augustine played Wildwood Catholic at Wildwood Catholic. St. Augustine won by double digits, but it was I think it was a 2-point game early in the fourth quarter there. And Atlantic City and St. Augustine will, of course, face off on February 15th, Monday, February 15th at St. Augustine. So that'll be another interesting game. Austin Kennedy is just a tremendous player. My impression of St. Augustine, I kind of wrote after they beat Holy Spirit, was, they can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. With their athletic ability and their ability to make plays, they can make 3 or 4 plays in the span of about 30 seconds and turn those plays into 8, 9 points. What struck me the other night is with about 2 minutes to go or 2.5 minutes to go in the first half, I thought Holy Spirit was doing a good job. St. Augustine was up 21-16. And with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, the score was 46-18. So that's a 25-2 run by St. Augustine in a span of about 7 minutes. And obviously the game was over at that point. So, St. Augustine with Kennedy, Mutz, Saeed Nelson, they can score a lot of points in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I was impressed with Mutz. Here's a guy who's about 6'7". He's not 6'9", 6'10". There's other guys around his height in the league, but he's one of these guys that really every possession, he's backing his guy up. He's calling for the ball. He's one of these big men that's really aggressive and wants to post up. You don't normally see that in the high school level.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that gets double-digit points and rebounds every game, and it's kind of like you said, he gets the ball inside the lane, he makes 2 inside moves, he gets 2 or 3 putbacks, hits 4 foul shots, and then catches an alley-oop dunk and dunks 2 hands, and brings the crowd out of the stands, and you add all that up, that's 16 points right there. So he's a guy double-digit points and rebounds for them, and really at 6'7", with Aldridge graduating from last year, I mean, he's their size this year, and he's a guy that continues to develop and has an impact, and is probably one of the top players in the state.
Yeah, and a guy like Kennedy, who we're going to talk to in a few minutes, really one of those guys you love to have on your team. You know, he can go for 16, 17 in one game. He may only score 4 the next game, but even when he's not scoring, he's going to make those hustle plays that really can turn a game around. And he really seems to get that team and that fan base energized.
Yeah, I mean, he hit 2 3-pointers and scored the first 15 points of the second half against Holy Spirit. He hit 2 3-pointers. But I always say about Austin Kennedy is, you know, and he's a junior guard. If he was on any other team in South Jersey, he would be, you know, the man averaging about 20 points a game. He's on St. Augustine. Saeed Nelson is kind of the leader of that team. And in a way, Kennedy defers a little bit to Nelson, but he's still there to get key points. I remember he had a big game in the Atlantic City game last year. So he's a kid who's capable of scoring 18, 20 points in a big game, and that's just tremendous to have. And you know, St. Augustine's probably going to need him to have a game or two like that if the Hermits are going to do what they want to do this season, and that is, you know, contend or win a state non-public A title.
How about this kid from Southern? He kind of gets overlooked a lot, but he's averaging 30 points a game. I mean, he's out of control with the scoring, and he's going to Pace University. Peyton, I'm not sure how to say his last name.
Peyton Weinert. Yeah,
Weinert,
Peyton
yeah.
Weinert, yeah. I wrote a story about him, you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. A tremendous kid. He's 6'7". Transferred to Southern Regional from Point Pleasant Borough as a junior, now a senior. Like you said, he's going to Pace, a Division II school. He had some Division I offers. And like you said, you know, the Southern Regional, tough loss last night to a very good Toms River North team. I think Southern boys lost by 2 at Toms River North. But Peyton Weiner is at 6'7". He can play outside on the perimeter. But what I like about him too is he's also able to go down on the block, get the ball down there, and score inside. And he's shooting about 12 to 14 free throws a game, so he can get fouled and he can get to the line. And if you ever look at his numbers for a game, you know, that's how he gets 30 points a game. You know, he gets to the foul line 14 times a game, and he hits about 80% from the foul line. So he's just one of those kids who can score the basketball.
Talking with Mike McGarry here from the Press of Atlantic City, talking a little high school hoops. Mike, we got the Battle by the Bay coming up next weekend, and the traditional finishing game for that is Atlantic City versus Pleasantville. Kind of gets everybody psyched up for the Super Bowl on that Sunday afternoon, and should be a lot closer game this year. I know Atlantic City's been dominating that series for the last couple of years, but Pleasantville, you know, they had a tough loss last night, but they've really come a long way in the last year or so.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Pleasantville team this year that has a win over Mainland Regional, a win over Ocean City, a win over Absegami, went down to Wildwood Catholic, played Wildwood Catholic tough. You know, they lost to St. Joe last night, but they beat St. Joe on the opening night of the season. And you're exactly right. For the first time in a couple of years, you know, there's some interest, I think some added intrigue into that Pleasantville Atlantic City game. And Kenny Allen and Markel Bridges are just, you know, 2 wonderful players for Pleasantville. So you're exactly right. Atlantic City has kind of had their way in that series the past couple of years. But this is a Pleasantville team that could make that game interesting, and it should be a fabulous, you know, Battle by the Bay. I think Saturday at the Battle by the Bay is just tremendous. I mean, you've got, you know, you just talked about Peyton Weiner. You know, Southern Regional, I think, is playing at noon. And then at 2 o'clock, you've got a big rivalry game between Middle Township and Wildwood Catholic boys. And then you turn that around and finish up, I think, a 6:30 game, a rematch of last year's South Jersey non-public A final between St. Augustine and CBA. So if you're a high school basketball fan, Saturday, you want to be at Atlantic City for the Battle by the Bay. It's one of the better Battle by the Bay days, you know, I can remember.
Good stuff. We'll talk more about that next week, Mike. Appreciate you hopping on board. We got to take a break. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, buddy.
Anytime. Thanks a lot, Sully. See you later.
All right. Thanks, Mike. That was Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. We'll get a lot more into the Battle by the Bay next weekend.